Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, Brandon here with another great business to discuss on this episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. Today's guest is Lewis, and he's selling his two-site package of display advertising and Amazon Associates businesses on the Empire Flippers marketplace. So welcome to the show, Lewis, and how are you doing today?
Hi Brandon, thanks for having us. I'm great, thank you. I've just been out for a run, so all pumped up for the goal.
Awesome. Yeah, it's good to get out there and enjoy the fresh air while we can now that things are slowly starting to open up again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really awesome to have you on the call. But before we get into the details and what's included with this business, let's give a general overview of what it is. So it is a two-site package of display advertising and Amazon Associates business in the pet care niche created in July 2016. The average monthly revenue for the business is $2,489 and makes an average of $2,462 per month in net profit. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 53134 to learn more about the business, or you can unlock this listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing this asset. So now that I've given a general overview of the business, what's included in the sale is the primary domain and all site content and files, the second domain and all site content and files, an email list with 209 subscribers stored in GetGist, one Signal notifications account, which has over 6,000 subscribers, social media accounts for Facebook and Twitter, ebooks, which is including one buyer's guide and 65 ebooks used as lead magnets. And it is worth noting that we recommended interested buyers have an approved AdSense account to aid a successful migration of the business. So, Lewis, can you tell us a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
Yeah, sure. So it was one of my close friends that got me into this, and he'd been doing it for a couple of years, and he said, look at this, look what I'm doing. And I seen the money coming in and I thought, whoa, what's going on here? This is pretty cool. And I spent a couple of weeks trying to come up with ideas, and I thought I'd just do it about this pet that's sitting next to me right now. And that's where the idea came from. So the business started around what I knew, and that was the pet that I love, who's with us here today, Toffee.
Really awesome that you're able to take something that you're already familiar with and turn it into a business, which is always a great story to hear. Now, with this business earning from display advertising and Amazon, what would you say is primarily generating the most revenue for the business?
It's the display advert generating the most income on this one.
Okay, so through the AdSense network, you've been building up most of the revenue through that platform?
That's correct, yeah. I mean, recently I've just given another ad network, Zoic, a try due to the recommendation of a friend, and I've noticed that's really increased the income there. So that's probably something I should have done a bit earlier on. But yeah, some good advice I received there.
Yeah, we'll get into the details and some of the ways that you would try and grow the business personally a little bit later in the call. But first, if the business is doing so well at this time, why have you decided you'd like to sell it?
The main reason is that I did a valuation on Empire Flippers, again at the recommendation of a friend, and I was just really taken aback by how life changed and that amount of money would be for me in my personal situation right now. So this is a hobby for me, and I work full time. An exit like this could mean I could maybe quit working full time a little bit sooner than I would normally. So yeah, really, I'm just looking for a nice way to quit the 9-to-5 day job.
Yeah, that's really awesome to hear that, this would be such a great life-changing exit for you. And, I'm sure a lot of the work that you put into the business is also going to help pay itself off in the long run too. Now, was there anything that you learned while growing this business that you might plan on applying to, say, future or current projects down the road?
Definitely. I think shiny object syndrome comes to mind. So I think taking on a next project, I wouldn't start multiple things and try and do them all at the same time. So alongside this, I tried another couple of ideas, and these are the ones that stuck. So I did follow through with them, but I let distractions get in the way, and I started maybe 3 or 4 other different things in totally random other niches. And I feel like that's just a complete waste of time. I feel like if I'd committed into this and really grew it out earlier on, the growth would have happened sooner than it has.
Yeah, really solid advice to really focus in on what's paying back from the work you're putting into it and, really hone in on that skill to get the most out of it. So completely agree with you on that front. Now, was there anything that you tried with this business and it just didn't give you the ROI that you were expecting?
I was trying to find high paying sort of affiliate networks that might fit in with this. And I thought there would be a really, really obvious choice. And I thought, if I just bang up an advert on there on the site for this, then that'll just convert automatically. But it didn't. And I think, you can't just take for granted that somebody's just going to click an ad on the site. You have to actually put some content around that and really build that up. So yeah, that was the thing that I probably expected would just work overnight, but it didn't.
Yeah, it's really very interesting insight that making sure that your content is related to the ads. It's not just throwing the ad on the site itself that's getting the clicks. It's making sure that it's all within context. So that, yeah, really solid insight there. Now, where would you say that a majority of your traffic is coming from for the business? Is most of it coming through organic search, or are you also running any type of paid advertising?
It's pretty much all entirely coming through organic search, which is the great thing about it. It's kind of a lazy way of getting traffic, really. I'm not great with the social media stuff. I'm not great with some of the other things. So the fact that all the traffic is pretty much coming through organic search is really helping us out on this one.
Right. Yeah, it's some of the most beneficial traffic you can get too, because you already know their search intent coming into the site is geared towards what you're writing about. So it's not really having to spend the money in order to get the money. So yeah, it's really great to see that you have that approach. Now, what would you say you're doing as far as any other marketing for the business? Are you doing anything with social, or say even the email list at this time?
Yeah, I mean, social-wise, when I first started the site, I used social to make some connections so that I could try and sort of build guest posts and things, but that was really early on, and that kind of fizzled out for me as I just didn't put the time into that. Now, the only things I'm really doing with social media are kind of automated, and that's just putting a few posts out there, asking a few questions, but I don't put enough time into it, so the engagement isn't great. I think if I was really good at socials, that could be another great source to build traffic and really sort of build an audience as well, actually.
Yeah, a solid mention. And I'm sure our potential buyers out there that are listening to this call can also see the value in that low-hanging fruit and what they can do to grow the business further. And on that subject, hypothetically speaking, if you were to keep this business, what are some of the ways that you would personally try and grow it?
I think I've gone for some really I've started by doing the things that I know I can rank, and I've done it and it's worked. I think I would really build out a load more info content. I think there's loads of opportunity with sort of frequently asked questions style content, really deep dives into sort of specifics about specific breeds, for example. I think there's loads of stuff you could do with this, loads more affiliate content that you could put out there. I've really focused on a specific kind of content, and I think if somebody had those skills behind them to really build out much more info content, I think they could just grow this exponentially. I feel like I've barely touched the surface. It's one of those things where I feel like my laziness is allowed it to it's grown, but I really should have been reinvesting and growing it further.
Okay. Yeah, that happens quite often with a lot of businesses that we hear. The seller usually wants to put more effort into the business, but it's really might come down to maybe a skill set that's out of their general knowledge, or, maybe even capital wise. But that's still an awesome roadmap for the potential buyer to come in and really push this business to its full potential, as you've already somewhat laid that out for them. Now, can you walk us through what are some of the typical weekly tasks that you're doing for the business at this time, or current operations that you have in place?
There's not much really. So the type of content on there, I occasionally get people asking to be added to the content that I've got there. So people that contact me and ask to be featured. And it's just a case of communicating with them, getting them put up on the site. And that's about it really. Then there's not much in terms of day to day other than monitoring the traffic's still coming in. For me, the biggest thing is checking each day and going, wow, look at those AdSense earnings, that's amazing. It's more me checking it as opposed to really having to do anything to keep it running. Again, I feel like I could not look at that for 3 months, 6 months, come back to it and it would still be exactly the same, which is really the amazing thing. That's kind of the dream, where you start off looking for this passive income and then it happens and it sort of takes you by surprise almost.
Yeah, definitely. Having something on autopilot, I guess, is kind of the goal that a lot of buyers and sellers are all looking for as well, too. So are you producing a majority of the content for the business? I noticed in your listing when I was going through the vetting ticket, you mentioned that you haven't published any new content in some time, but when you are publishing content, are you writing everything yourself?
I don't actually enjoy writing at all. When I first started the site, I tried to do the first sort of few posts myself and quickly realised that writing wasn't my speciality. So I've actually pretty much outsourced every bit of content on the site, and I've done that through Upwork. That's worked for me. I don't necessarily have one writer that I stick to, because I might go through phases where I'll get a couple of things written and then leave it for a few months. I just put out a good job post, I think. I follow some guides from a course that I signed up to, put out a job post, and I get pretty good content back for what I think is a reasonable price.
Yeah, that's really great to see that you already somewhat have a system in place for outsourcing freelancers from Upwork, and that's really great to hear as well. Now, do you feel that there's any particular skill set that a buyer should have prior to acquiring this business, or could most of the operations for the business be learned during the transition period?
I think most of the operations could be learned. In terms of the setup of the site, there's one particular plugin which might need a little bit of hand-holding, which I'm more than happy to go through with any buyers on the site. But it's really just a basic WordPress site at the end of the day. So people who are experienced using WordPress should be able to just pick this up and run with it.
Yeah, that's really great to hear that it's already somewhat streamlined for someone that, with a little bit of WordPress CMS skills, could ultimately come in and still manage it just fine. Now, on the flip side of that, what do you feel are maybe some of the potential risks associated with this business that a buyer should be aware of?
Yeah, so as we touched on at the start, the majority of the income's coming in through sort of adverts. And I guess if that kind of business model changes and ad revenue goes down, then that would be a potential pitfall on this one. What I would say is I would probably, to combat that's where I'd probably build out more affiliate content just so that you can balance the two. But yeah, it would just be if things change with the way ads work, I think that would really be the sticking point.
Yeah, that's quite common for most display advertising businesses and those that kind of rely on advertising. It really is making sure that you are branching out and you're diversifying your revenue sources as much as possible anyways. And that goes for every business model as far as I'm concerned. Now, Lewis, are you willing to commit to a non-compete, meaning you'll stay out of this specific niche?
Yeah, I think that's a totally fair thing to ask based on the sort of business model in place here and the niche that it's in. So while I will be sad to see it go, and like I say, it started with my pet here, Toffee is just sitting right next to us. Yeah, I'm happy to stay out of this and give something else a try.
Great. And then how much support are you willing to offer potential buyers? Are you going with the typical 30 days of email and Skype support, or did you have something in addition that you would like to add on to that?
Yeah, I've said I'll do the 30 days with a couple of calls. In reality, I just want whoever buys this to be happy and confident that they can take it and run with it. So, keep in touch. If there's something that the potential buyer was struggling with, didn't understand, especially during that 30 days, if they need more than 2 calls, fair enough. I'm happy to make the time. If they're going to make the commitment to invest in my site, then I should make the commitment to help them out, transition as smoothly as possible.
Yeah, it's really great to hear that. And I'm sure that our buyers out there that are listening to this call can also see the value in that added support and you wanting to see the business succeed. So that's really great to hear. Now, are you open to negotiating something like an earnout where you'll receive a large portion of the sales price up front and then smaller payments closing out the deals, say over the course of a couple months after that?
If I'm honest, I'm probably looking just for a full cash offer and that to be it. So that's kind of how I feel about this right now.
Yeah, not a problem at all. Most buyers at this price range as well have said the same thing, so completely understandable on that side. Now, just a few sideline questions for you, Lewis, to wrap this up. So what advice would you give to our listeners that you wish you knew when you first started this business?
I would say when I first started this business, I wish I'd followed some kind of course. I'm going to give a little shout out to the course that I've been following, if that's all right with you, Brandon.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I signed up for the Authority Hacker course and they've got a great community behind them and they've sort of answered questions that I've had throughout the time. That's actually the reason I'm here on this call today, because somebody recommended you guys. So I would say find a course, find some kind of guru or person or mentor and just stick to it. Stay laser focused. Don't get distracted by shiny object syndrome and just take something and run with it.
Yeah, really solid advice, Lewis. It's a course that I've also taken as well, too, with Authority Hackers and really great information in there. And yeah, I completely agree with you. Staying focused and not losing track of what the goal is in mind is really great advice for our listeners out there. Now, was there any software or tools that really helped you at the start of managing this business?
Really, I've relied a lot on kind of bootstrapping. And I think based on that, I've used things like AppSumo to get really good deals on software over the years. So I think when you're starting out, you don't necessarily have that much money to invest. So something like AppSumo, where you can get in early, is great for finding tools that help you. As the business grew, I sort of moved into the more industry standard things, and obviously Ahrefs is probably one of the most common tools that people use, and that's been a great for help me find keywords to sort of laser focus on.
Yeah, absolutely. Ahrefs is a tool that we use on a daily basis as well too, and it's really insightful, great data points to use, and help the business grow as well too. So that's great to hear. Now, final question, wrapping this up for you, Lewis. So, putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why do you think that your business is worth buying?
I think it's worth buying because it's aged well. It's going back to 2016 when I started this thing. It's an evergreen niche. There's loads of opportunity to build it out further. It's a 2-site package, and I think based around the sites that are involved in that, you can see that there's a potential for real growth with both sites. I just think this is a really good niche to get in. I've got the money coming in there. You can build on it. You can grow it. You can make this much better. Somebody who does this as a day job or has got a lot of experience behind this and isn't just doing this as a little side hustle while they work full time, I think could really grow this thing big.
Yeah, really solid mention. And it's also great to see this foundation that you've established for these buyers that are looking at this business in particular, because now, as you had mentioned, they could come in, spend a little bit extra time on it, maybe be more laser focused, as you had mentioned, and really push it to its full potential.
Yeah, I think one thing that's also worth mentioning is, like I've touched on here, I do this as a hobby. There's certain things that I hate doing. I hate link building. I haven't done any link building. Somebody that can come in and build 1,000 links, 2,000 links, and just throw it at this thing, I think you're just going to see it skyrocket.
Yeah, absolutely. Another great low-hanging fruit as well, too. And I'm sure our potential buyers out there that are listening to this call can also see the value in that and, sort of the roadmap that you have established for them. And that pretty much wraps up this call, Lewis. Was there anything else that you'd like to add that I might have missed?
No, that's all. Thanks. I really appreciate your time here, and I really appreciate any buyers who want to get in touch. Happy to have a call with anyone and take it further.
Yeah, really great to hear that. And I'm sure all of our listeners out there can also see the value in that as well, too, that you're offering to make sure that they continue to succeed with this business. So thanks again for jumping on the call, Lewis. It was really great talking to you, and I'm looking forward to seeing this listing getting sold for you here in the near future.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. And all right, everyone, thanks for listening. To learn more and to see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 53134. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. And once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.